Meet Magnus Carlsen, the chess virtuoso whose mastery has left an unforgettable mark on the game. Carlsen's rise to greatness began with his Grandmaster title achieved at just 13 years old. Since then, he has reigned as the undisputed world chess champion, showcasing unparalleled strategic brilliance and an unyielding spirit on the board. Within the small circle of chess grandmasters, a formidable challenger awaited Carlsen ready to test his supremacy. Enter Hikaru Nakamura, the American chess prodigy celebrated for his aggressive and dynamic playing style. With a Grandmaster title earned at 15, Nakamura's rise to prominence was swift and relentless. His tactical genius and impressive list of accolades solidified his position among the finest players of his generation. With Carlsen and Nakamura set to collide, the chess world braced itself for an electrifying showdown at the 2019 World Blitz Championship, where genius would clash with genius in a battle for the ages. The game begins with Magnus playing pawn to d4, initiating a queen's pawn opening, to which Hikaru responds with knight to f6, opting for the Indian defense. Magnus's next move leads him to knight to f3, which was met by Hikaru's pawn to d5, solidifying the center. The game has now taken an interesting turn, as Magnus pushes his bishop to f4, signaling the London system opening. Magnus and Hikaru's facial expressions mirroring each other. Sheer concentration and calculation. Hikaru aggressively counters with a pawn to c5, challenging the center. Magnus continues his strategic development with his bishop controlling the center. Hikaru initiates his bishop to d2, offering a trade. While it would appear Magnus is making excessive trades, these exchanges are slowly working in his favor. Magnus and Hikaru's eyes never leave the board as both play the game out in their minds. Their blank faces give no strategic indication to the opponent. Magnus proceeds with the trade and soon after leads to exchanging the DNC pawns. Magnus leads his pawn to c4, aiming to expand his influence in the center, while Hikaru decides to simplify his position by taking another pawn. This brings forward Magnus's bishop and gives Hikaru a chance to castle his king. Magnus shifts his rook to c1, placing a set of eyes on Hikaru's queen, which he quickly returns back to safety. This gives Magnus an opportunity to castle his king and rook, in which Hikaru responds with his pawn to b6. A handful of moves are made until Magnus offers another bishop trade, which Hikaru is hesitant to accept. Magnus then proceeds to move his knight to e5, maintaining a dominant presence. Hikaru responds with a possible knight trade by moving his knight to d7. Nevertheless, Magnus has a different tactic and offers Hikaru a queen trade by moving queen to f3, which Hikaru deliberately avoids. While Hikaru is notorious for his speedy gameplay, time is not on his side today while playing Magnus, as Hikaru's timer is running lower than usual. Magnus stays on the attack by threatening Hikaru's king, which he moves to safety, but Magnus knows he needs to take hold of the board. Magnus plays knight to c4. Hikaru takes Magnus's pawn at a2, which is known to be a risky move against the champ. Magnus initiates with g5, putting Hikaru's knight on f6 under threat. Responding strategically, Hikaru places his other knight on c5, creating an opportunity for his attacking knight to retreat if necessary. Magnus then skillfully moves his knight to d6, increasing the pressure on the center and targeting the vulnerable f7 square. Hikaru, feeling the weight of the intense situation, deviates from a safer option of capturing another pawn with queen b2 and instead opts for an aggressive move, advancing his knight to b3. Unfortunately for Hikaru, this impulsive choice proves to be a fatal mistake in the end. Magnus safely moves rook to c2, while Hikaru attacks with queen to a4. In a game-changing move, Magnus executes a devastating maneuver by moving his rook to c4, launching an attack on Hikaru's queen. Continuing his offensive strategy, Magnus proceeds to play pawn to g5, targeting Hikaru's knight and preparing the groundwork for a winning combination. Two quick physical reactions in a split second. Hikaru's eyebrow raise shows relief, and Magnus's brief forehead touch shows he's recalibrating his effort. Though Hikaru attempts to respond by moving his knight, unfortunately, it proves too late to turn the tide in his favor. Undeterred, Magnus moves his rook to h4, skillfully initiating material gains by exchanging Hikaru's knights for his rook. In a last-ditch effort, Hikaru places his rook on f8, hoping for a checkmate on Magnus's f2 square. However, Magnus quickly identifies the threat and counters by positioning his rook to f4, effectively eliminating any possibility of Hikaru's victory. Seeing that his defeat is assured, Hikaru resigns from the match. ultimately bestowing the title of the 3-time consecutive Blitz World Champion upon Magnus Carlsen.